Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a celebration of Flyer basketball. I'm the voice of the Flyers, Larry Hansgen. Tonight, we celebrate the tradition of winning basketball at the University of Dayton. We're honored to have basketball legend Bob Knight as our keynote speaker. It's so good to see so many friends, fans, former players, special guests here tonight to make this evening a special occasion. And to begin it all, I'd like to invite the University of Dayton Rector, Father Paul Marshall, to the stage for the invocation.
Tonight, as we gather, I begin with the concluding line of Psalm 90, which reads, "May the favor of the Lord our God be ours. Prosper the work of our hands, prosper the work of our hands." Merciful and gracious God, we humbly come before you this day knowing that you have blessed us to be a people of faith. We acknowledge your presence in each of us and among us. This university is established on the faith, dedication, and hard work of Marianist religious who have sought for 157 years to build your kingdom by teaching others human and divine truth, and by gathering people from all ways and walks of life to be a community that honors you. Lord God, you are the source and origin of all. From you, every good thing comes to us. We thank you for these gifts. On this joyous evening, we recognize all those who have been involved in the past 40 years of Dayton Flyer basketball. We recognize the young men whose display of athletic skills brought joy to fans. We are grateful for the teams who have represented UD and for their team play, which reminds us of how we should work together in all of life so that your kingdom is known. As they work together, they have brought esteem and renown to this educational institution. So this evening, we honor them. Tonight, as we remember and celebrate, send out your Spirit upon all who have gathered here, so that thanksgiving and praise is given to you without ceasing. May we always remember that it is the game of life in which we all seek to be victors. So we entreat you, our good God, to place your kindness in our hearts. Grant that all who have assembled find the enrichment of community and together offer you praise. We pray all this through Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, forever and ever. Amen.
It's my pleasure now to introduce the MC for tonight's event. Jay Bilas was a four-year starter for Duke, where he helped lead the Blue Devils to the 1986 NCAA title game. He was then an assistant coach for Duke from 1990 to 1992. At the same time, earned his law degree from Duke's Law School. A short time later, he then chose honest work and entered the noble, sacred, and prestigious field of sports broadcasting. He joined ESPN in 1995, is currently a game analyst and a studio analyst for College Game Day, College Game Night, halftime shows, and post games. In addition, Bilas is a regular contributor to ESPN News, ESPN Radio, and is a featured writer on ESPN.com. Sports Illustrated has called Bilas the best analyst in college basketball. We are very pleased to have him here tonight. Please welcome Jay Bilas.
Just when you thought my head couldn't get any bigger. It's a little unnerving. You know, it's always uncomfortable for me when someone like Larry talks about my basketball career as if I was any good. When I came out of high school, I actually asked Bob Knight, why didn't you recruit me? And he said, because you were the player that put the suck in success. But tonight is about excellence. And there's been nothing but excellence here at the University of Dayton, and especially on this floor here at UD Arena. I have long been a student of the game, and I love college basketball. I love everything about it. I love college athletics. And the reason I love it is because it's all about the pursuit of excellence. It's about teamwork, it's about commitment, and it's about competition. And I think that this building is one of the true gems in all of college basketball. I have been in all of them. I've been in all of them. And I started in my broadcast career right here at UD Arena, doing games when Ryan Perryman was grabbing every rebound as a 6'4" forward and led the nation in rebounding, and got a chance to broadcast games when the late Chris Daniels was playing for this university, and got to watch Tony Stanley's first practices here as a Flyer. And every time I came here, I would always talk with my broadcast partners and say, you know, people talk about great fans and fans that are passionate and loud, and Dayton's got that, but they've got something better. They've got knowledgeable fans. Dayton, people here that watch games at UD Arena know basketball, and over the course of basketball history here at UD Arena and before at the Fieldhouse, they've seen some great players, some great coaches, and some truly great basketball. So I'm honored to be here. When Brian Gregory, the head coach here, called me, and Coach Donaher, all it took was one phone call, and I was in with both feet. I'm proud to be here, and I'm honored to be here to help you celebrate a proud tradition here with Flyer basketball. Wanted to recognize a few people who are here with us tonight. Tonight in our audience, we have got two of the top 50 players in NBA history. First, the great Dolph Shays is with us tonight. And also with us, an All-American from the University of Cincinnati, played in the NBA for umpteen years, one of the greatest players ever to lace him up. Oscar Robertson is here as well. And we also have a wonderful representative from that sadistic ground acquisition game called football. Was the head coach at Notre Dame and also at the University of Akron. Jerry Faust is with us this evening. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you tonight the president of the University of Dayton, Dr. Dan Curran. Dr. Curran.
Thank you, Jay. I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight to support Flyer basketball. About 2 years ago, I was at a Miami Heat game with Milt Canner, and he said, we have to do something to honor all those athletes, the coaches, the students, the fans, who are part of Flyer basketball. We came back to Dayton, and we said the one person we have to work with is Coach Donaher. So Milt, the coach, and I met, and we said, this is an event we need to have. We need to acknowledge the past. So let me start by being the first individual to thank Milt and the coach for pulling this all together this important night. So Milt, could you stand up? And Coach Donaher, Coach Donaher, would you stand up, please? I knew I was on a great team with Coach Donaher and Milt Canner, so this is going to be a great success. I'd also like to thank Coach Knight and Jay Billis for being here tonight. I know they had to go out of the way to be here, so Coach Knight, thank you. Jay, thank you very much. Tonight's about coaches, players, managers, support staff, all committed to the University of Dayton. to the Flyers. It was their commitment, dedication, and hard work that made Flyers basketball a reality. It's also about the fans. Jay just commented that this is one of the best venues in the country for college basketball. I happen to think the fans make it the best venue in America for basketball. Later tonight, you'll hear in a presentation that someone once told former coach Tom Blackburn that he would never fill the field house, as it was known at that time. Never fill the field house. But Coach Blackburn and the great teams of the 50s and 60s led the Flyers to the national stage. Not only was the field house filled to capacity, their success culminated in a run to the national championship in 1967 and gave birth to the UD community. I'm always fascinated when I go around the country that people will see me in a UD jacket and say, UD Flyers. Just a week ago, I was at a meeting with university presidents, and one of the presidents pulled me over and said, I grew up in New York. I remember the Flyers at the NIT. They were great teams. So again, while you may have played in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, and before that, people recognize the University of Dayton in many ways because of the Flyers and because of what happens on this court today. So we filled the field house. We fill this arena. And now we're working on a new project, a renovation of the PAC, so that the players don't have to leave the core of the campus. They can stay on campus and meet with professors and study and still have the opportunity to play on a regular basis. Many of you have supported this initiative. But again, I think it's key because it also emphasizes academics. It makes it very clear that all the players here, all the student athletes in basketball, baseball, volleyball, and so on, are here to get the outstanding education which is the hallmark of the University of Dayton. So again, I want to thank you for supporting us tonight and supporting us throughout the year. Go Flyers.
My next introduction is of your current head coach, a guy that I've known for a lot of years and have admired very much. Brian Gregory is one of the hardest workers in college basketball and one of the most passionate coaches, and I think is doing a fine job of building this program up to what UD expects and deserves. I did have one concern about tonight in introducing Brian, is his ability to see over the podium. Because as I told Brian, he still is the only coach in college basketball whose bobblehead doll is actual size. But Brian Gregory is a good friend and a fine basketball coach, and the Flyers are in great hands. Brian Gregory.
Friends like that, who needs enemies? Obviously. We brought some telephone books up here, so I should be okay. 4 years ago, and for the last 4 years, every time that I speak to a group, I always started off with one simple fact, and that's that I'm humbled and honored to be the head coach at the University of Dayton. Tonight, those feelings are only magnified. This is a special place. Even with this great arena, with the fantastic facilities that we have, with the new facilities that we're building, it's really the coaches and the players that we're honoring tonight that make the University of Dayton and Flyer basketball so very special. It's a privilege to be given the order to continue to work on and build on this tremendous tradition. What an honor it is every day to coach on Tom Blackburn Court. Unbelievable honor. I've heard the stories about Coach Blackburn. I've talked to his former players. There's some great stories in there. And to be honest with you, I think college basketball today could use a few more Coach Blackburns. What an honor to walk into work every day into Danaher Basketball Center. Coach Danaher, a great man, a great teacher, and obviously a great coach. I don't think anyone here tonight would disagree that the program that we're celebrating tonight is definitely a reflection of our Hall of Fame coach. Couple things real quick. One of my favorite guys around, we introduced 2 of the top 50 all-time NBA players, and I think everybody, including myself, because all the stories, thought that Bucky was going to stand up on that. But I guess he didn't make that. I would like to take a minute and thank a couple, personally thank a couple people. Obviously, Dr. Kern did a great job of talking about Milt Cantor and the drive that he had for this event. And as the head coach here at the University of Dayton, I can't thank you enough, Milt, for thinking of this, coming up with this, the work that you put in. And all you got to do is take a look around and see that the crowd that we have tonight, and a lot of that is due to your work. So thank you, Milt. I'd like to thank Jay Billis. I wrote this before he made those initial comments, for taking time out of his very busy, unbelievably busy schedule to help us celebrate our tradition. During Jay's senior year at Duke, he got to enjoy something that all college basketball players dream of. He was an impact player, a main player, and helped his team reach the Final Four. That night, the Duke Blue Devils beat the Navy Midshipmen 71-50, giving Coach K his first trip to the Final Four. I was a freshman on that Navy team. So now I'm really pissed off at Jay. I'll give you the stat line. Jay's stat line, 26 minutes, 10 points, 10 rebounds. My stat line, 35 seconds, 0 points, 0 for 1 from the field, and 2 turnovers. I always felt if I got a little better opportunity, a little more time, and maybe the game would have been a little different at the end. But obviously, I appreciate Jay taking time out. The best analyst. He's great for college basketball. And what an honor to have him here. Obviously, I also like to thank Coach Knight for playing such a big role in tonight's event. What a privilege for all of us. And obviously me as a young coach, but for all of us, all Flyer fans, everybody here, to have college basketball's all-time winningest coach take time to honor his friend, to honor the program his friend was such an integral part of, and to take time to help us celebrate tonight. Just unbelievable to have Coach Knight here. A Flyer fan, yeah. A Flyer fan came up to Coach Danaher and myself and said, hey, do you think you two guys could talk to Coach Knight about having his team come down and play at UD Arena? Yeah. Hold your applause for a second there. Coach Danaher and I went through the record book and started looking at the teams that I helped coach as an assistant and how we fared against Coach Knight's teams. Well, as the losses kept mounting, and as we saw scores like 97-61 and 103 to 73, Coach Donaher and myself both decided and agreed upon that the only time we wanted to see Coach Knight in UD Arena was tonight. We all know that Friday marks the beginning of the 2007 and 2008 basketball season. Teams around the country will begin practicing. But tonight, for the Dayton Flyers, our season starts. Tonight marks the beginning of our season. I can't think of a more exciting way to tip off our season than to celebrate the history, the tradition, the success of Flyer basketball. When I was fortunate enough 4 years ago to get the head coaching job here at the University of Dayton, my number one and my first objective was to get the former players back involved in our program. I thought that was very, very important. I also wanted our current players to understand the type of men that paved the way for them to enjoy the first-class program that they're a part of today. And I think it's very important that we emphasize that. And to tell you the truth, tonight, we can bridge that gap, okay? We're honoring our former great players and coaches, and our current players are here in attendance. Tonight, our players will see it, they'll feel it, and they'll witness it in a way that I could never, ever express to them. They'll see what this program's all about. They'll see the type of men, and they'll see the success that we've had, and that it can be done here. They'll witness the players, hard-nosed, tough, blue-collar players who built this program in a workmanlike fashion. They'll witness the coaches, great teachers, guys who really taught the game, guys who were demanding, and guys who almost willed their teams to success. And they'll witness a program, one secured in integrity and discipline and unselfishness. For our players, tonight there will be a history lesson taught. And I hope that lesson helps motivate us to go out there this year and write another successful chapter to the tremendous, storied tradition of Flyer basketball. Thank you.
Brian, I was pretty proud of that Final Four appearance until you told me that you played in that game. Actually, the truth is, when we got back to the locker room, we weren't allowed to celebrate because Coach K reamed our ass for letting you get a shot off without us blocking. But I digress. In 1947, UD Athletic Director Harry Bojan hired Leonard Thomas Blackburn to coach Dayton's basketball team. At the time, Blackburn was a golf pro at Madden Park, and he'd coached football and basketball at area high schools. Well, Bojan must have had a gift for spotting coaching talent because his new coach would bring Dayton's basketball program to national prominence. Watch now as we celebrate the Blackburn era of Dayton basketball.
In 1903, people living on Hawthorne Street in Dayton, Ohio, heard the sounds of hammers, saws, and a sewing machine. Their neighbors, Orville and Wilbur Wright, were busy constructing their Wright Flyer. That same year across town, a different sound could be heard, the sound of a basketball legacy being constructed. The first page in this history belongs to the St. Mary Saints of 1903. Early records are sketchy, but it is known that the 1906-07 Saints went undefeated, posting a 14-0 record. But for nearly 50 years, basketball was overshadowed by Flyer football. Unlike the Wright brothers airplane, Flyer basketball couldn't seem to get off the ground. Losing seasons became routine. Then the university made a commitment to build a first-rate basketball program. In 1947, the University of Dayton hired Tom Blackburn as their basketball coach. Blackburn had never coached at the college level, but in 4 short years, Blackburn's Flyers would be playing for the NIT championship at Madison Square Garden in New York. Blackburn had coached high school football and basketball In 1942, his Xenia High School basketball team won the state championship. But Coach Blackburn inherited a UD team that posted just 4 wins against 17 losses. His first season, they ended up 12-14. It would be his first and only losing season at UD. For each of the next 16 seasons, Blackburn produced winners. Coach Blackburn was poised to lead UD basketball into the modern age, but the team didn't really have a place to call home. They were playing home games off campus at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds Coliseum. As part of their commitment to a first-class basketball program, the university's administration pledged to build the UD Fieldhouse. On May 3, 1949, ground was broken. The project faced considerable on-campus opposition. "You'll never fill the place," warned one well-known member of the Society of Mary. But with a new coach and a new arena came a new spirit. The Fieldhouse was the place to be, and before long, the Fieldhouse was sold out for every game.
There wasn't any better atmosphere any place than at the Fieldhouse. When you played at the Fieldhouse, all 4 sides, the feet of the spectators were right up to the floor. The shrill was so loud over there for a big game, you couldn't hear.
But to keep the Fieldhouse rocking, it would take more than a new coach and a new facility. It would take great teams, and that's exactly what the Flyers of the 1950s delivered. 1951. Just 4 years into Blackburn's program, the Flyers win 27 games. The 51 Flyers were led by Don "Monk" Meineke, Chuck Grigsby, Junior Norris, and Pete Boyle. Meineke averaged over 20 points and 11 rebounds a game. He became Blackburn's first All-American.
Monk was a tremendous competitor. His work ethic would go off the charts. He had great pride. He was best when a game was on the line. Just a driven person and tough as nails. And he was right at home in that team because Chuck Grigsby and Junior Norris and Pete Boyle, all in that same class, were all fierce competitors.
In 1951, the National Invitation Tournament took place in New York City. It was the premier postseason event, and UD was invited to the party. First, the Flyers faced Lawrence Tech, a 20-2 team from Detroit. Meineke burned the nets for 30 points, and UD won 77-71. Next up, third-seeded Arizona. Meineke was a red-hot 11 of 14 from the floor. Finishing with 37 points, the Flyers win by 6, 74-68. Dayton was in the semifinals. Fans poured into New York City. Demand for rail tickets was so high, extra train cars were added to transport UD fans to the Big Apple. The Flyers faced top seed St. John's. At halftime, Dayton was up 5. But with 8 minutes left in the game, Meineke fouled out, followed quickly by Junior Norris. With a basket at the buzzer, St. John's tied the game. The Redmen went up by 3 in overtime, but Dayton played great team basketball and pulled out a 69-62 victory. Coach Blackburn had put Dayton on the map of college basketball.
In his 4th year in this so-called modern era, he's in the NIT championship game. Now, he had to be some kind of a coach to do that.
After a great tournament run, the Flyers came up against BYU in the big game. After a close first half, BYU cruised to a 62-43 victory. It was a great season for the Flyers, and with many of their players returning, expectations for 1952 were running high. The 52 Flyers marched through the regular season, posting an impressive 28 wins against 5 losses. For many, the most unforgettable moment was the tribute that UD fans gave to Don Meineke as he left home court for the last time. Cy Burek, sports editor of the Dayton Daily News, wrote, "It was an explosion, deafening, with almost everybody in the overcrowded arena on his feet." Dayton's 28 wins earned the team a return visit to New York City, home of the NIT. The Flyers started the tournament with an 81-66 victory over New York University. Meineke poured in 30 points. Second-seeded St. Louis was the Flyers' next victim, falling by 10, 68-58. Chuck Grigsby's 22 points led the Flyers. A third-round 69-62 win over St. Bonaventure propelled UD into the NIT championship game for the second straight year. Favored to win, Dayton was upset by LaSalle 75-64. It was never close. An oddity of the 1952 season was that after the NIT, the Flyers also played in the NCAA tournament. Illinois beat Dayton 80-61. All 5 Dayton starters fouled out. Coach Blackburn was livid.
He did not care for the experience that we had up in Chicago in the regional game against Illinois. We're still in the record books for number of fouls committed in a game. And that didn't endure him to that tournament, so he stayed with the NIT, and that didn't make him very popular with the NCAA hierarchy.
Under Blackburn, the Flyers continued their winning ways. The 1955 Flyers were ranked as high as number 4 in the country. Compiling a 25-4 record, the team was led by All-American John Horan, Jack Salee, Chris Harris, and Bill Ewell. Once again, at season's end, the Flyers were back in the Big Apple, playing in the NIT. Dayton started the tournament by thumping St. Louis 97-81. Salee and Horan combined for 62 points. Round 2 produced an unlikely hero for the Flyers. Losing to St. Francis, Carmen Riazzi, a sophomore averaging less than 3 points a game, hit a clutch basket that sent the game into overtime. Dayton went on to win 79-73. Dayton was back in the NIT championship game for the 3rd time in 5 years, but the 3rd time was not a charm. UD lost to Duquesne 70-58. Led by All-American Bill Ewell, the 1956 Flyers racked up 25 victories.
Bill Ewell really made that team go. He was outstanding center. The guy made himself into a heck of a player.
It was the highest-ranked UD team in history, peaking at number 2 in the nation. The high ranking came after a trip to Lexington, Kentucky.
We beat Adolph Rupp on his own floor, and we beat the number 2 team, and we took over that spot.
I don't think they had ever been beaten there in that tournament, and I mean, we killed them. We had them down 20 with 5 to go, and we came back to the city of Dayton, and we were like rock stars. It was a really good basketball team.
Once again, the Flyers made the trip to New York for the NIT. Dayton beat Xavier and then St. Francis before falling to Louisville in the championship game. At the start of the 1958 season, the Flyers were a question mark.
Blackburn was really concerned at what kind of year we were going to have, and it didn't appear on paper that we were going to be very good.
By Dayton standards, the team was small.
Boy, we could play some defense. We could get after people. We had great chemistry. Everyone got along.
Unranked at the time, the Flyers defeated number 15 Seattle, a team led by future NBA star Elgin Baylor. The 81-75 victory started the Flyers on a 16-game winning streak. Back in the NIT, Dayton beat Fordham behind a career-high 26 points from Frank Case. In the second round, the Flyers demolished St. John's 80-56. In what had become a familiar scenario, Dayton was once again in the championship game. The opponent? The Xavier Musketeers. In the regular season, Dayton had beaten Xavier twice by a combined total of 21 points. But this was a different Xavier team. Tied at the end of regulation, Xavier won in overtime 78-74.
As a bitter disappointment, would have loved to give Blackburn that victory, but we had a really great year, 25-4. It's not too bad.
It was a great season, but for the 5th time, Coach Blackburn's Flyers came up 1 win short of the championship. The 1961-62 Flyers were led by co-captains Tom Hatton and All-American Gary Rogenberg.
Gary was a gifted athlete. He was like a ballet dancer playing basketball. Shoot either hand, shoot on the run, shoot outside, rebound. He did it all.
The team had a 13-6 record before closing out the season with 7 straight wins, and it was back to New York City and another shot at the NIT. In the first round, Wichita State fell to the Flyers 79-71. In round 2, sophomore Bill Chmielewski poured in 32 points as the Flyers manhandled the Houston Cougars 94-77. Loyola of Chicago was Dayton's opponent in the semifinals. Loyola was up by 3 at the half, but Dayton put up 57 second-half points to win 98-82. Gordy Hatton had 33, and again, the Flyers had made it to the championship game. Their opponent, the Red Men of St. John's. The Flyers took a 6-point lead into the locker room at halftime and never looked back. Tournament MVP Bill Chmielewski led Dayton with 24 points and 11 rebounds.
Bill was a young man, and the pressure did not seem to faze him at all. He had an outstanding NIT and, of course, won the MVP award.
At last, the Flyers were NIT champions. Coach Blackburn's dream was now a reality.
That was monumental for him. I've heard Tommy Hatton quoted one time and just saying that the look of satisfaction on his face, because Tom was a hard guy and you didn't see a whole lot of smiles when he was around the team. And he was just lit up from ear to ear. He just gave all his praise to the kids. That's the way he was.
It would be Coach Blackburn's last trip to the NIT. In 1963, he was diagnosed with cancer. Battling the pain, he continued coaching until a week before he died.
All the fans should know what his contribution was to the University of Dayton as far as the basketball program. He made you work hard, and I think that's what made us great.
You talk about, dying with your boots on. That was Tom Blackburn. He wouldn't give into it. No self-pity, nothing. Just tough guy. Good man.
The Blackburn era was over. 10 NIT appearances, 1 NIT championship, 5 All-Americans. But it was more than the numbers. It was the foundation of integrity and hard work that became the cornerstone of all that would follow.
We'd now like to recognize the 5 All-Americans under Tom Blackburn. Don Monk Meineke did more to establish Dayton as a national power than perhaps any other player. He led Dayton to its first NIT, where the Flyers reached the title game in both his junior and senior seasons. He was the Flyers' first 1,000-point scorer, finishing his career with 886 career points. Let's hear it for Don Meineke. Nicknamed the vertical hyphen, the late John Horan is Dayton's all-time leading rebounder, and he could score too. In his senior year, Horan averaged over 18 points and over 13 rebounds per game, leading Dayton to 2 NITs during his career. Let's hear it for John Horan. Seven-footer Bill Ewell was a dominant force in the paint for Dayton in the mid-1950s as the Flyers climbed to a number 2 national ranking. In his career, Ewell averaged over 18 points and just under 15 rebounds per game and played in 3 NITs. But his most prized Flyer memory was watching his son, Bill Ewell Jr., play for Dayton in the late 1980s. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ewell. In only one season of varsity basketball, Bill Chmielewski led the Flyers to an NIT championship and was named the NIT tournament MVP. During Dayton's 24-6 season, the 6'10 Detroit native averaged 15 points and just under 10 rebounds per game. Let's hear it for Bill Chmielewski. In just his third college game, Gary Rogenberg grabbed 32 rebounds. To this day, a Flyer record for most rebounds in a single game. Rogenberg was the leading scorer on Dayton's 1962 NIT championship team as a senior and was also a heck of a baseball pitcher playing in the major leagues. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Rogenberg. And we are also honored to have with us the wife of the late Tom Blackburn, Mrs. Libby Blackburn. The passing of Tom Blackburn brought a lot of questions. Would Dayton continue as an elite national program? And who would take over as head coach? Well, the answer to the first question was yes, in large part because of the answer to the second question, when Dayton took a chance on a young assistant coach named Don Donaher.
Don Donaher first became a part of Dayton Flyer basketball playing for Tom Blackburn from 1951 through 1954. In February of 1963, Donaher became the assistant basketball coach. With the death of Tom Blackburn, the torch was passed to Don Donaher. Donaher had help. Former UD player Chuck Grigsby became his assistant. Another former player, Tom Frericks, was the new athletic director. But walking into the UD Fieldhouse for the first time as head coach and standing in the shadow of a coaching legend can only leave you feeling one way.
Scared. It was unbelievable. Those are not good coaching situations to fall into when you have to fill in the shoes of a legend.
But having a player like Henry Finkel made things a lot easier. Henry Finkel was a New Jersey native with a boatload of basketball talent. He had been offered a big NBA contract after his sophomore season, but his mom wanted him to get a college degree. Hank loved UD and had great respect for Coach Donaher, so he turned down the NBA to return to the Flyers for Donaher's first season. In the 1964-65 season, Big Hank led the Flyers to a 22-7 record. By this time, the NCAA tournament was the premier postseason tourney, and Dayton was invited. The Flyers played Ohio University in the first round. Tough defense by Captain Bob Sullivan helped Dayton pull out a 66-65 victory. But in the next round, the Flyers were soundly beaten by number 1 ranked Michigan, led by Cassie Russell. For the season, Finkel scored 733 points, and his field goal shooting of 63% is still a Flyer record.
Henry Finkel, outstanding free throw shooter, had an unbelievable hook shot. Maybe was one of the best centers in the country at that time.
After that season, Finkel was redrafted and offered even more money, but he chose to stay at UD.
He returned to school when he didn't have to, and that's why Henry Finkel is high, high, high on a pedestal in my life.
The 1965-66 season started off with 8 straight victories. In the Flyers' first defeat, a 2-point loss to Maryland, Finkel poured in a career-high 44 points. Sophomore Don May was also putting up big numbers. After a 22-4 regular season, the Flyers were again invited to the NCAA tournament. In the first round, the Flyers beat Miami 58-51, but in the next round, they faced Kentucky, ranked number 1 in the nation. Dayton was up by 4 at the half, but Kentucky came out and grabbed the momentum. Despite Finkel's 36 points, the Flyers lost 86-79. After just 2 seasons, Coach Donaher's teams had 45 victories, and Henry Finkel was Donaher's first All-American and UD's 7th. The 1966-67 season was a special one. Junior All-American Don May led the Flyers to a 21-5 record.
Donnie was a warrior, just an incredible player. He might have been like second in the nation in rebounding at 6'4". He's a prolific scorer, but you almost have to talk about his rebounding at first.
What I can say about Donnie May is I think he may be the best player that ever played here.
All season, the Flyers were unranked, which set them up perfectly for their role in the NCAA tourney as giant killers.
We sneaked up on people, and during the tournament, we were a Cinderella team, and we enjoyed that.
It started with Western Kentucky, ranked number 4 in the nation. The game had gone into overtime. With time running out, Dayton got the ball and called timeout. The score was tied. There were 14 seconds on the clock.
We were in a huddle, and they were man, and that's when Hooper came over and said, "Give me the ball. I'll handle this baby."
And by God, he did.
Bobby dribbled on the right wing like he was looking into Donnie, and then he just uncorked it.
And I can still remember standing under the basket watching it come in. That was the shot that made us, as far as I'm concerned, Bobby Hooper.
Final score, Dayton 69, Western Kentucky 67. Don May had 26 points and 20 rebounds. Next up, number 8, Tennessee.
Of course, we weren't expected to win. We upset Tennessee in a close game.
The Flyers hit an astounding 72% from the field and won 53-52. Virginia Tech was Dayton's next opponent. Riding Don May's 28 points, the Flyers won 71-66 in overtime.
We were headed for the Final Four. It was a pretty good party going on up there in Evanston.
Athletic Director Tom Frericks had been feverishly working on the idea of building a new arena for the basketball team.
And that night he announced to everybody, "Tonight we just built an arena. So we're going to jump on the momentum here, and we got ourselves a building tonight."
Dayton met number 4 North Carolina in the semifinals.
They were so highly ranked, had 2 All-Americans, were highly favored to beat us.
They got us down about 11-3, something like that. And number 21 again started to light it up. And before he was done, he had hit 13 consecutive field goals.
I was taking the same shots that I took every game. They just happened to be going in.
Final score, Dayton 76, North Carolina 62. Dayton was headed to the national championship game against UCLA. Lou Alcindor made UCLA virtually indestructible. It was never close. The Bruins remain undefeated, winning 79-64. The 1967-68 Flyers had high expectations. 6 of the top 7 scorers were returning, but by January 23rd, the team had only 7 wins against 9 losses.
I know Coach Donaher was really tormented about the way we started.
And we put together a lineup that gelled, and the chemistry got better, the play got better, and we ripped off our last 10 games to go to 17-9. And the NIT had gone to a field of 16, I believe, for the second year, and we were about the last dog in.
Dayton started strong. Powered by Dan Obravic's 30 points and 13 rebounds, the Flyers cruised past West Virginia 87-68. In round 2, Dayton came up against the Fordham Rams. Don May had 28 points and 13 rebounds. In the final seconds, clutch free throws by Dan Obravic put Dayton up by 3. Fordham rushed down the court for a quick shot. Dayton still up by 1, fumbled the inbound pass, giving Fordham a chance to win the game. The rebound was batted away by Obravic, and the Flyers won 61-60. Next up, Notre Dame in a classic overtime thriller. Don May poured in 32 points and grabbed 13 rebounds. Bobby Hooper, playing with an injured hand, scored 18. The 76-74 victory propelled Dayton into the NIT championship game against the Kansas Jayhawks. The Flyers had a little help on their way to the final. Bob Knight was coaching at Army, and his team had played both Fordham and Notre Dame. Coach Donaher called Knight and asked for any insights he might have. Coach Knight shared his scouting report with the Dayton coaches.
Stuff Bobby gave us really helped. We didn't have film, for one thing. So then, after we won that game, the next morning, he called me and said, "I got you in the finals. I don't know anything about Kansas. You're on your own." So that was it. But that was the beginning of our friendship.
In the first half, it was all even. The score was 25-25 at the break. But Don May took charge in the second half, and the Flyers never looked back. The 61-48 victory gave Dayton the NIT championship. Don May was the tournament's most valuable player.
We had the final hug on the sideline with Hooper and myself and Coach Donaher, and it was the culmination of all the effort, all the years.
Coach Donaher was building championship caliber teams, and UD, led by Tom Frericks, was building a championship quality arena. On November 7th, 1968, ground was broken. December 6, 1969. With finishing touches being completed that morning, UD plays and wins its home opener in the new arena. The Flyer teams in the early 70s didn't have the same degree of success as some of the earlier teams, but then came the 1973-74 Flyers.
That was a very good, explosive team. And we were back in the NCAA after being out of the tournament for 3 years.
In February, the NCAA bid was far from certain. The Flyers were 13-7, but they won their next 5 games. Then second-ranked Notre Dame came to town.
They came in here highly rated. They had broken UCLA's streak that year. I don't know that I've ever seen the place on fire like it was that night. Donald Smith put on a show. He was absolutely amazing.
It was a blowout. Dayton 97, Notre Dame 82. In the first round of the NCAA tournament, the Flyers beat Cal State Los Angeles 88-80. Dayton now faced UCLA in the second round. The Bruins had won the last 7 NCAA championships. Led by Bill Walton, UCLA built a big lead. The first half ended with the ball in Smith's hands.
Donald Smith launched one. It wasn't a 3 by today's standard. It was probably about a 5.
The basket cut UCLA's lead to 12.
We came out at the start of the second half. I don't think I've ever seen a better display of basketball by both teams offensively, and we were the better of the two.
The Flyers were up by 3 with a minute to go. UCLA came back to tie it. Dayton got the last shot, missed it, and the game went into overtime. The first overtime ended knotted at 88. UD and UCLA traded baskets in the second overtime. With the score tied, Dayton had the ball as the clock ticked under 10 seconds. UCLA gets the steal. A shot for the win. No! In the third overtime, UD finally ran out of gas, and the Bruins took control. Mike Sylvester and Donald Smith combined for 59 of Dayton's points. Veteran sports announcer Dick Enberg said, "The Dayton-UCLA game was one of the top 5 games I've ever called." Flyer fans were optimistic about their 1977-78 team. After 3 seasons without an invitation to the NCAA tourney, the faithful were hoping to get back to the party. The Flyers upset nationally ranked Syracuse 76-67, and on the last game of the regular season, they beat Notre Dame 66-59. UD was led by Irv Giddings and Jim Paxson. The Flyers finished 19-10 and went to the NIT. The Flyers started with a first-round win over Fairfield, but Georgetown beat Dayton 71-62 in the NIT quarterfinals. The next season saw the Flyers finish with an identical record of 19 wins and 10 losses. All-American senior Jim Paxson, a 4-year starter, led the Flyers with a 23 points a game average.
He was so smart, gifted playing without the ball, run his opponent into screen after screen. He'd use the referee as a screener if he could rub him off. Hard worker, conscientious, and the shame of it all was his last 2 years, we just fell about a game short of making it to the NCAA.
Returning to the NIT, the Flyers smoked Holy Cross in the first round, 105-81. Next, Dayton faced a Purdue team led by 7'1" Joe Barry Carroll. The Flyers season ended with an 84-70 defeat. Jim Paxson, already an All-American for his work on the court, was also selected as a first-team academic All-American. The 1983-84 Flyers started the season knowing it had been 9 years since Dayton had been to the NCAA tournament. And the way the season started, it looked like they wouldn't make it to the party this year either.
At that particular year, I believe we were 7-7, and we had a very slow start. We had an identity crisis.
But the Flyers began to learn just who they were and what they could accomplish. On February 18th, third-ranked DePaul came to Dayton. The visitors had a 5-point lead at halftime. With 5 minutes left in the game, the Blue Demons were up by 11. Danaher called for a 1-3-1 trap. DePaul was turning the ball over as Dayton clawed back. With time running out and UD down by 1, the Blue Demons missed the front end of a 1-and-1.
Larry Schellenberg grabbed a rebound and he outletted it to Chapman, and Chapman went down to the left side of the key, and we thought, well, here's our horse, this is all we can ask for. And he comes down on the son of a gun if he doesn't pass the ball.
Pass to Ed Young, he had great position. He had fronted a defender, and I knew that was his realm because I've seen it day in, day out in practice, and I knew he would make that turnaround jump.
Ed Young caught it, turned left shoulder and banked it off the glass right at the buzzer, and it was electrifying. It was like you're electrocuted. I mean, we're from death to life. It was a thrilling moment.
The fans came down on the court, and my coach, Don Danaher, I'd never seen him do a dance like he did. He was just so excited, all the emotion.
The shot gave UD a 72-71 victory. It also guaranteed more thrills as Dayton was invited to the NCAA tournament. In the first round, the Flyers were heavy underdogs to LSU. But Chapman came through with 29 points and Dayton won 74-66. UD earned the right to play the 7th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners, who were led by the imposing All-American Wayman Tisdale.
Roosevelt just took it to him. He had 41 that night.
We couldn't stop them, but they couldn't stop Chap.
Roosevelt Chapman's 41 points powered Dayton to an incredible 89-85 victory. In the next round, the undersized Flyers came up against number 15 Washington and their tall front line, nicknamed the Berlin Wall. Chapman took charge in the second half. Outstanding free throw shooting sealed the victory, 64-58. But the party was about to end. A strong Georgetown team featuring Patrick Ewing put an end to the Flyers season. In command all the way, the Hoyas won 61-49. Dayton finished the year at 21-11, and Roosevelt Chapman ended his career as the Flyers' all-time leading scorer with 2,233 points.
He was a magnificent player, had all kind of charm. Crowd loved him. He was a crowd pleaser, and a real likable kid. He was a beauty to have in the program.
The Dayton Flyers had always played as an independent, but in 1988, UD began competing in the Midwest Collegiate Conference. It was Coach Danaher's final year as the coach of the Flyers. Coach Danaher's teams won 437 games. They won an NIT championship and made 8 NCAA appearances. And his players learned what it meant to be a Dayton Flyer.
Don Danaher, he's the man that helped me to become a man. Not only on the court, helped build on my skills and my confidence, but as an individual, he helped me to grow up to be the man I am today. I'm glad I chose UD. I'm glad I chose him to be my coach.
And we are honored tonight to have with us the All-Americans from the Danaher era. Dayton's third all-time leading scorer with 1,968 points, Henry Finkel was the MVP or the co-MVP in all of his 3 years with the Dayton Flyers. He holds the Dayton record for most points in a season, scoring 733 points in 1965, an average of 25.3 points per game. He led Dayton to 2 NCAA Sweet 16 appearances. Ladies and gentlemen, Hank Finkel. Don May grew up in what was now the UD student neighborhood, and as a kid delivered newspapers to the UD dorms. As a Flyer, he delivered on the court, leading UD to the NCAA championship game in 1967 and the NIT championship in 1968. He's currently second in both Flyer career scoring and career rebounding. Please welcome Don May. Three-time Flyer Most Valuable Player Jim Paxson was a first-team All-American and academic All-American. As a senior, he averaged 23 points per game and stands fourth on Dayton's all-time scoring list, fourth in career assists, and third in career steals. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Paxson. Dayton's all-time leading scorer with 2,233 career points, Roosevelt Chapman led Dayton on a magical ride to the Elite Eight in 1984, including dropping 41 points on Oklahoma. Ladies and gentlemen, Roosevelt Chapman. And ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the outstanding players and the outstanding teams under Don Donaher here at Dayton. And now let's watch as we celebrate the latest chapter in Dayton basketball history, the Conference era.
For the 1989-90 season, new coach Jim O'Brien brought a different style of basketball to UD, featuring a running game and a barrage of three-point shots. But the early results were unspectacular. By mid-February, the team was 11-9. But then something clicked. Under the leadership of senior point guard Nigel Knight, UD went on a tear, winning their last 7 regular season games. During that stretch, the Flyers demolished Notre Dame 97-79. Even sweeter was the 111-108 win over 19th-ranked Xavier. Knight scored 30, Ray Springer added 26. The MCC tournament was held at the UD Arena, where the Flyers were 13-3. In the first round, they thrashed Detroit 90-72. Detroit, concentrating on UD's guards, managed to hold Knight to 19 points, but that freed forward Anthony Corbett up to score 8 straight as UD pulled away early. AC finished with 18. Round 2, Loyola plays tough, but the Flyers win a close one, 97-95. Xavier, now ranked 24th in the nation, was back to face the Flyers, and this time it was for the MCC championship. UD shot 59% for the game and held off Xavier's second-half surge for a 98-89 victory. Knight had 32 points and 15 assists.
It was pandemonium. I mean, we beat the dreaded Xavier Musketeers. And Nigel Knight had a big game, and I remember he came over and jumped up on the radio where Larry and I were doing the broadcast and almost took our equipment out, and the fans were delirious. And the fans needed that desperately because we had fallen on hard times. They turned out to be a very, very good basketball team.
The Flyers were league champions and headed to the NCAA tournament. In the first round, Dayton faced Illinois. The Illini were ranked 18th in the AP poll.
I thought that we had a good chance because of the play of Nigel Knight. He got on a roll, and he just thought he was invincible.
Led by Knight's 27 points and 23 from Corbett, UD built an 11-point lead and hung on to win by 2, 88-86.
I think we didn't catch Illinois by surprise. We just beat Illinois.
In the second round, the Flyers would have to face a talented Arkansas team without three-point threat Norm Greavy, who was injured in the Illinois game. Arkansas ended Dayton's season with a game-winning shot with 2 seconds to play. During the 11-game win streak, Knight averaged 29.3 points a game and 7.9 assists. Knight and Corbett are currently number 7 and 8 on UD's all-time scoring list. 5 of the top 6 scorers in 1990 were seniors. The Flyers would miss the scoring. In fact, UD wouldn't have a winning team for another 6 years. In 1994, Oliver Purnell was hired as head coach. UD joined the Atlantic 10 Conference the following year. In 1997, a gift from UD alum John McHale helped build the Donaher Center, giving the Flyers a first-class, technologically advanced facility for training, game preparation, and recruiting. These developments, along with quality players, helped turn the tide for UD basketball. The 1999-2000 Flyers brought excitement back to the program. They won their first 3 games before facing the number 12 ranked Kentucky Wildcats. Tony Stanley scored 23 points, including 2 clutch three-pointers. The 68-66 victory served notice that Dayton was back. The Flyers ran their streak to 8-0 before their first defeat and finished the regular season with a 21-7 record. In the A-10 tournament, Dayton beat St. Joseph 67-64 in round 1, but the next day, St. Bonaventure knocked off the Flyers 56-50. The 22-8 Flyers were invited to the NCAA tournament. Dayton opened up against Purdue. UD trailed most of the game, but the team's tough defense kept them in it. Dayton pulled ahead by 3 with under 3 minutes to play, but they would fall a point short, 62-61. The 1-point loss was a heartbreaking way to end the season, but it was a year where Dayton reclaimed some lost prestige. In each of the next 2 seasons, the Flyers would win 21 games. Both years, Dayton went to the NIT.
Oliver Purnell came in here and did a nice job of turning around a program.
Under Coach Purnell, the Flyers were renovating their reputation. Now was the time to renovate the arena. The 10-month renovation started in November of 2002. Suites and loge seats were added. Environmental graphics telling the story of Flyer basketball were put in place.
It was almost like we came up with a brand new facility. It just converted the place into a museum. I don't think any place in the country has done a job capturing the tradition that our people have done here.
Renovating the arena meant preserving Dayton's nationally recognized basketball heritage. As ESPN's Mike Tirico put it, there's no better basketball town than Dayton, Ohio. The UD Arena is widely regarded as one of the best in college basketball. Dayton has hosted 75 NCAA tournament games, the 3rd most of any venue. But what makes UD Arena a great place to play is about more than the building.
The fan support here kind of touches me, I still think about it.
There's nothing like it in the country.
You go to some of these other schools, and I won't name them, but you're talking about schools that have pretty good names, and they average 1,500 fans, maybe 2,000 at the most, 3,000. You come to the UD Arena, you're going to get your 13,005 almost every night. And I get all fired up right now just talking about it.
They definitely give us an edge. They definitely have won games for us.
The 2002-2003 Flyers showed their potential early by beating number 21 ranked Cincinnati in the 3rd game of the season. In a tight battle with Villanova, the game went down to the wire. Big plays made by Keith Walaskowski and Mark Jones, setting the stage for Brooks Hall.
Jones to Hall. Somebody get a shot up at the buzzer. It's good. Brooks Hall hits it at the buzzer. The Dayton Flyers beat Villanova 80-78. My goodness.
Pandemonium in the Dayton Decibel Dungeon.
Dayton also beat 13th ranked Marquette and 25th ranked St. Joseph's. The Flyers started the A-10 tournament with high hopes. In the first game, they thrashed Rhode Island by 17. Next up, St. Joseph's. And despite a career-high 39 points by Jameer Nelson, the Flyers beat the Hawks for a second time, 76-73. In the championship game, it was UD versus the Temple Owls. Dayton jumped in front 14-0 and never trailed. Final score, Dayton 79, Temple 72. Tournament MVP Ramad Marshall had 16 points and 11 assists. The Flyers were Atlantic 10 champions. UD, now ranked number 16 in the nation, opened the NCAA tournament against Tulsa. Ramad Marshall led Dayton with 21 points, but it wasn't enough. An 84-71 defeat finished the Flyers' outstanding 24-6 season. Brooks Hall led Dayton's balanced attack with 12.8 points a game. After the season, Coach Purnell left to become the head coach at Clemson. Brian Gregory, an assistant at Michigan State, was chosen to lead the Flyers.
Whenever you talk about the program, you have to start with the tradition. And to move forward, you have to know where you've been in the past. And we've been at the highest level, and our goal is to get the program back to that level.
In pursuit of that goal, the 03-04 Flyers began with a win over Pepperdine, followed by a trip to Hawaii to play in the EA Sports Maui Invitational.
And from day one, we started talking about our first goal was to win the Maui tournament.
3 wins later, and the Flyers were tournament champions.
In that little gym at Maui, you got a banner up there, and they've got every team that has won the Maui Invitational. And Dayton's on there, and it'll always be on there. And I think that was a great start, and Coach Brian Gregory did one magnificent job of coaching that basketball team that year.
The Flyers finished the regular season at 22-7 and won the A-10 West.
We won that West Division by 2 games, and then it kind of springboarded us into the tournament and to get to the finals.
Dayton beat Duquesne and Richmond before falling to a hot Xavier team 58-49. In the NCAA tournament, the Flyers faced DePaul in the opening round.
I thought we did a phenomenal job defensively, gave us a chance to win that game. We just didn't make enough plays that, kind of down the stretch.
The Flyers went down in double overtime 76-69. The team featured 3 1,000-point scorers, Keith Walaskowski, Ramon Marshall, and Sean Finn, and a future 1,000-point scorer in freshman Monty Scott. It all started in a small gym in 1903. It grew, evolved, and became something special. It became a legacy, built by men who would not be outworked, men who were tough as nails, men who loved a place called Dayton. In the 2 decades of the 50s and 60s, the Dayton Flyers won 435 games, more than any other Division I school in the country. A rich history of All-Americans and now conference championships elevates the legacy. And every player who steps on the Blackburn court understands what it means to be a Dayton Flyer.
And I remember taking the court, and I can feel it now, the goosebumps just came over you. Dayton basketball, just a special place.
I was so excited, and I said, this is time to shine right now. That's a great memory for me. I'm glad I chose UD.
It just makes me feel good to be part of it.
Well, I feel that I'm very fortunate to have come to UD. There's nothing like it in the country.
It's meant everything to me.
The university is committed to extending and elevating the legacy of Flyer basketball.
Well, I'm excited about the year. We're coming off 19 wins, 5 wins over NCAA, qualifying teams. We have a great nucleus of some veteran players, obviously led by Brian Roberts. And the biggest thing that I'm excited about is just the fact that basketball is really, really important to every guy on the team.
Keeping the Flyers' future bright is the renovation of the athletic practice facility. The refurbished facility will benefit more than 350 of our student athletes, providing UD teams more flexibility in how they train and practice. The hope is that the indoor practice facility will decrease injuries, provide more practice availability, and serve as a great recruiting tool for our future Flyers. Elevating the legacy. It happens when the team comes together, and not just the team on the court, the extended team, the Flyer faithful. It takes the big team to keep the legacy alive.
This man really needs no introduction, especially in this building, but he's going to get one anyway, whether he likes it or not. Don Donaher is synonymous with Flyer tradition. He's dedicated most of his adult life to the Dayton basketball program, and I don't like to think of myself as a complainer, but it is beyond me how Don Donaher is not in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. He guided Dayton to 8 NCAA tournament appearances, 7 NITs, and he won over 437 games here at Dayton. He led the Flyers to the 1967 NCAA title game, the 1968 NIT championship, and he always won with sound fundamentals, with discipline, with integrity, and with class. He's one of the basketball's most respected minds, one of its most respected voices, and one of its finest gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Don Donaher.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much. As the first video tonight documented, the arrival of Tom Blackburn ushered in the modern era of UD basketball. 60 years ago, 1947, a new face and a new school year was underway. His was a new face on campus, but that face will forever be known as the father of the modern era of UD basketball. An impact player in the growth of this university. In 4 years' time, UD was on the college basketball map, and Coach was a recognized figure in college basketball circles. Athletic Director Harry Bojan, the father of the modern era of UD football, made the hire. He hired Tom on the strength of his record at Xenia High School. 3 trips to the state tournament with a championship in 1942. While at Xenia, Tom earned a PGA card. Obviously, he was a fine golfer. After World War II, he was a naval officer during the war. He became the pro at Madden Park. At the same time, the UD administration made a commitment to elevate basketball to what is today Division I, full scholarship program and plans to build a new on-campus field house. The same field house that several years later, Don Meineke ever so humbly referred to as the house that Monk built. Tom accepted Harry's offer, took the job as a sideline in the Madden Park job for a reported $1,800. He liked to joke, I think he was joking, that the brothers of Mary all took the vow of poverty, so they asked him to do the same. Harry, a Notre Dame grad, liked to say that this was the greatest collegiate heist since the Fighting Irish hooked Rockney. This gathering tonight reminds me of a family reunion, the Blackburn reunion. His UD basketball players, his sons, grandsons, and great-grandsons united, those who wore the red and blue and those who wear it today. Lots of cousins, the coaches, managers, trainers, doctors, and administrators. One of those administrators was also a player for Tom Blackburn, Tom Frericks. Can you imagine UD and Dayton, Ohio without this arena the past 38 years? Tom's creation, his project, pure and simple. He rode the momentum of the 50s and 60s to put the project in the forefront. The 67 Final Four was the clincher. Tom Frericks was another impact player in this school's history. Then there are the aunts and uncles with us tonight. You folks, representative of the Flyer faithful. Since Tom Blackburn first came on the scene, you have supported us in every way, from Coach to Mickey to Jim to Oliver to Brian, from Harry to Tom to Ted. You have reached deep into your pockets, been there in good times and hard times. We know that hadn't been easy, but we coaches and players of old and of today sincerely appreciate it and thank you. It has been said before that by no measure is the Flyer following the largest in college basketball, but by every other measure, it is the best following in college basketball. We are here tonight not only to celebrate our tradition, but also to raise some money to give Coach Gregory and his kids of today and tomorrow a nice new practice facility. We are badly in need of this. We need to keep up with the competition. We want these kids to have the best. You aunts and uncles make this happen. There are always some close friends at a family reunion, there to lend a helping hand, like Larry Hansgen, always there for the Flyers. Thank you for the voiceover tonight, Larry. Usual great job. And how about Jay Billis responding to Brian Gregory's call? Think of all the places he could be right now. You know, those Dukies aren't all bad. Saw Jay go from being an intern at the 1984 Olympics to reach the top of the ESPN mountain. He was one sharp intern, and his success comes as no surprise. Thank you so much, Jay. You do an amazing job. How can we possibly thank Bob Knight enough? he could be in Lubbock right now getting ready for practice this weekend. But here he is in Dayton, helping out the Flyers. A friend called, he answered, a sample of his generosity and loyalty. He may be basketball's winningest coach, but his contributions to the game and to those who teach the game transcends the record. He has given so much in so many different ways to those he knows and to those he has never met. In May of 2006, the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame inducted its inaugural class. Bobby was inducted, along with Oscar Robertson. Bobby was also the keynote speaker. He spoke at length about Ohio's basketball history. He made mention of Tom Blackburn and the Flyers of the 50s and 60s repeatedly. Guess what? This past May, the second class of inductees, Tom Blackburn, his 62 NIT champs, our 68 NIT champs, Don May and Jimmy Paxson were all inducted. And Don Meineke is in next year's class. Like the old E.F. Hutton commercial, when Bob Knight speaks, people listen. I will say this, if he is your friend, you have the best big brother in the world. I only wish that way back when he had become a Flyer instead of a Buckeye. Perfect fit for the class of 62, along with Rogie, Tommy, and Stan Greenberg. He would have loved playing for Tom Blackburn, 2 peas in a pod, and he would have liked playing baseball, his best sport, with Gary and Tommy playing for Herbie Dinneman. So, Coach, you may have arrived a little late, but sure nice to have you with us tonight. And by the way, the last time you were here on this floor was March 14th, 1981, and your Indiana team beat Maryland 99-64 in a second round game of the NCAA tournament on your way to your second national championship. Remember that? While Coach Blackburn cannot be with us tonight, we are certainly blessed to have Mrs. Blackburn with us. Libby, it was so nice of you to make the trip from South Carolina. You were more than just a coach's wife. You've traveled with us, supported us, always the lady. There were times you deflected Tom's wrath. You would go shopping, overspend your budget, and he would come down on you and get off our cases temporarily. We really appreciated that. Have you ever wondered how all this season ticket business got started around here? Libby Blackburn was one huge factor. After that first Fieldhouse season in 1951, she swung into action, became a one-person marketing machine. Boy, could she sell and did she do a job. Her enthusiasm was contagious. Buying a season ticket became the thing to do. From that next season on until the close of the Fieldhouse era in '69, sellouts, 5,808 people at every game, a combination of season tickets and students. If Tom's name on this floor is his legacy, then what you see in the stands on game night is Libby Blackburn's legacy. Thank you, Mrs. Blackburn. As we heard earlier from Dr. Kern, this celebration came about as a result of a meeting between Dr. Kern and Milt. Milt had an idea, and President Kern seemed to think it was a good idea. He shared it with Ted Kissel. Ted liked it, so here we are. Milt has spearheaded a number of these events for the athletic department, for former Flyers, or for other charities in town. Ted then appointed James Brothers as captain of a university-wide celebration team, a championship team, I might add. On behalf of all the former Flyers, we want to thank each of you for your hand in putting this event together. We want to thank all of you in attendance for supporting this memorable evening. To the members of this year's varsity team, it's your time to add to the tradition. We sense that you want to make some music of your own this winter. That's great. We old-timers would like nothing better than to hear Jay Billis talking about the Flyers 5 months from now on Selection Sunday. Our best wishes, men. We are all part of a grand fraternity. Remarkable turnout tonight. Wish everyone could have made it. We especially remember our deceased brothers listed in the program. President Curran, Ted Kissel, we thank you for having us as guests. Coach Gregory, we thank you for always reaching out to us. This is a night to remember.